Respected dignitaries, participants, my dear academic and professional friends, good morning, greetings, and a warm welcome to a 7-day faculty development program on recent trends in management, organized by Department of Management Studies, Gates Institute of Technology. Myself, I am Sunil Manohar, Assistant Professor in GIT. It is my great pleasure to host this event and to welcome you all to the FTP. I would like to thank Correspondent Madam Srimati V.K. Padmavatama Garu, Managing Director Sri G. Raghunath Reddy Garu, Director Srimati V.K. Vani Madam, and Principal Dr. Bhaskar Patil Sir for their continuous motivation, support, and encouragement for being present here today in this session. Management is a process of planning, decision making, organizing, leading motivation and control, the human resource, financial, physical, and information resources of an organization to reach its goals efficiently and effectively. The object of this FDP is to discuss and to deliberate on the recent trends that have emerged currently in the management domain. I request convener of FDP, Mr. Ismail Jibiullah, Associate Professor and Head, Department of Management Studies, to deliver welcome address of the FDP. Over to you, Ismail.
Respected Correspondent Madam, Principal Sir, distinguished speaker, colleagues, participants from various primary institutes, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of Department of Management Studies, Gates Institute of Technology, I am delighted to welcome you this morning to a 7-day online faculty development program on recent trends in management. Thanks for being here on this virtual platform. For this FDP, so far we have received 1400 plus registrations from different parts of the country and across the globe. Notable among them are from England, Sultanate of Oman, Bangladesh, Paris, etc. As a teachers of management studies, we need to keep updated about the accomplishments in our areas of specialization and interest. I aspire that this FDP will definitely provide some prominent insights about the recent trends in management. I thank all the speakers for accepting our invitation and to be the resource persons for upcoming sessions of this FDP. On behalf of the department and on my own personal behalf, I welcome you all, sir. I would like to convey my special thanks to our correspondent madam, Srimati V.K. Padmavatama Garu, Managing Director, Sri G. Raghunath Reddy Garu, Director Madam, Srimati V.K. Srivani Garu, and our Honorable Principal, Dr. P. Bhaskar Garu, for their motivation, support, and encouragement. Lastly, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to my team members who have been supporting me in all tasks for organizing this FDP. I wholeheartedly welcome today the resource person, Dr. M.H.Bala Subrahmanya, Professor, Department of Management Studies, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, for giving us his valuable time in spite of his busy schedule. Thank you, sir. Gates Institute of Technology was established in the year 2001. It is permanently affiliated to Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, Anantapur, and got accreditation to all its engineering, humanities, and basic sciences and management science department by NAC. The institute got recognition of 2F and 12B from UGC and ISO certification also. The focus is to inculcate continuous learning habit with a positive attitude and ethically sound values within the faculties and students. Progressive thinking of our late correspondent, sir, Sri V.K. Sudhireddy Garu, has made Gates stand tall as one of the very first and few educational institutions to completely run on solar power. The institute is headed by the dynamic managing director Sri G. Raghunath Reddy Garu, correspondent Madam Srimati V.K. Padmavatama Garu, and our director Madam Srimati V.K. Srivani Garu, who are giving their best to make the institute to scale new heights. The Department of Management Studies was started in the year 2008 with an intake of 60 seats, and now its intake is 180. It offers 2 years full-time postgraduate program in management studies with the 4 specializations, that is in finance, human resource management, marketing management, and system, leading to the award of the degree of Master of Business Administration by the affiliating university. The department has qualified, dedicated, and experienced faculty and supporting staff. It has an entrepreneur development cell, e-classroom, seminar hall, equipped labs, and department library, and a management student club. It organizes industrial visits, entrepreneurial awareness camps funded by National Science Technology uh, and Entrepreneurship Development Board, NISBET, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, and Alumni Talks regularly. The institute allows students to further enhance, update, and fine-tune much-needed specific skills and soft skills through various training programs and workshops at different levels. In order to facilitate the institute signed an MOU with Village Energy Australia, Andhra Pradesh State Skill Development Corporation, and Florida Atlantic University, USA. I trust you will have a very productive sessions as we have eminent speakers for all the 7 sessions from reputed institutes of the country. I would like to appreciate the questions posted at the end of this session. Please stay safe and stay protected. Thank you, one and all, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you for your opening remarks, sir. It's my pleasure to invite our beloved principal, sir, Dr. Bhaskar Patil Garu, to speak on this occasion.
Very good morning to everyone. I wholeheartedly welcome, first and foremost, my teacher, Dr. Balasubramanian sir, and respected correspondent madam, who is also along with us today for this inauguration. A brief note on the FDP, what we conceived. Before I say that, I'm a proud alumnus of IISc, and this is the fifth in series of FDPs we are doing, sir. Each department did one, and we also did one on NAC. But I wholeheartedly admit your presence from IISc has made this program exceptionally outstanding, because for an institution of our caliber and standing, a teacher, the two faculty from IISc coming and being a resource person has added a new dimension. Maybe that's the reason when we looked at the participants who have enrolled for this, it's quite astonishing that we have more than participants from more than 7 countries and 18 states of India, despite the fact that this is a kind of asynchronous mode of learning. And so we are quite elated and delighted for your presence here, sir. So on behalf of my management, I wholeheartedly take this opportunity to personally invite you and thank you also. Secondly, to all the participants, since we have given a quantum of liberty for all our resource persons looking at their expertise, so each day will address different dimension and different aspects of management in the present scenario. In this kind of a new normal arena, so you will have to do quite a lot of things, including one speaker will be talking to you on reskilling that is needed for management teachers and management students. So that will be part of fifth day. So like that, each speaker with their expertise, so you'll have a diversified dimensions of looking at recent trends in the management. I am pretty confident that this program will definitely provide you a meaningful learning, which will definitely take back to the students, because that's the bottom line. Whatever learning we carry in these 7 days should reach the student community and make them to be better professionals in terms of management graduates who can adopt themselves better to the new normal. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your message, sir. I'm delighted to invite our correspondent madam, Srimati V.K. Padmavatma Garu, to deliver her message on this occasion.
Hello, good morning to everybody, sir. I am V.K. Padmavatama, correspondent, Gates Institute of Technology, Gutti. I am very happy on this occasion, sir. It gives me a lot of pleasure to see the teaching faculty of reputed institutions from the different parts of the country and globe for being connected through this virtual platform. In this situation, I congratulate our principal sir and the HOD and all the other key role players of the Department of the Management Studies, Gates Institute of Technology, for organizing a 7-day online faculty development program on recent trends in management. I also congratulate our MD sir and director Sri Vani to be in this event, to be a part of in this event. I anticipate the theme of FDP is act as the management teachers. You all should be on the familiar terms with the recent developments in your respective areas. I am grateful to all the eminent speakers for accepting the invitation to share their valuable knowledge through this FDP program. This kind of platform provide faculties and research scholars to improve their skills, quality of education, and disseminating the same to the next generations. I hope all the participants will make the best use of this opportunity and equip themselves to provide good research and quality education to the students' community. I wish all the very best to the participants. I welcome you, sir, for this event.
Thank you.
On the behalf of the college, sir. Thank you, sir, to accept the invitation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your motivated words, madam. I feel it honored to introduce today's resource person, Dr. M.H.Bala Subrahmanya, Professor, Department of Management Studies, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Sir is a Professor of Economics at the Department of Management Studies, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. Sir has more than 30 years of professional experience, of which more than 24 years are in IISc. During his professional career, he received Commonwealth Fellowship 1999 and 2000. Japan Foundation Fellowship 2004 and 2005, and Fulbright Nehru Senior Research Fellowship 2009 and 10. Sir has worked as a visiting research fellow at University of Durham, UK, February-July 2000 year. National Graduate Institute of Policy Studies, Tokyo, Japan, March 2005, February 2006. And at University of California, Davos, USA, September 2009 and April 2010. Sir has more than 100 publications to his credit, comprising research papers in referred national and international journals, international conferences, books, and monographs. Sir is on editorial advisor board of International Journal of Entrepreneurial Behavior and Research, UK. The FPI Journal of Economics and Governance, Fiscal Policy Institute, Government of Karnataka, Bangalore. International Journal of Global Business and Competitiveness Committee, Journal of Economics, New Delhi. Associate Editor of Asian Journal of Innovation and Policy, and Current Science Journal, among others. Two of his research reports will be published by Berlin, Germany, as monographs in 2021, namely Entrepreneurial Ecosystem for Tech Startups in India, Evolution, Structure and Role, Technological Business Incubations in India, Structure, Role and Performance, his field of specialization in industrial economics. Today's speaker's topic, significance of management research, role of management education system. Sir, we're proud of you, and I request a speaker to hand over the session. Thank you.
Sir, only one line, sorry to interrupt. Sir, since there are large number of participants, so you will be going live on YouTube, sir. So they will be putting up questions in the chat box. So the program host will come back to you in terms of reading out the questions for you, sir.
Sure, sure.
I thought we'll do it on Zoom, but a huge number of participants. So we are streaming it live on YouTube, sir.
Okay,
so
sure.
we will disappear from video now, sir. We'll see you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sure, sure. Thank you. Good morning. I'm delighted to be a speaker for the faculty development program organized by Gates Institute of Technology. I have titled my presentation as Significance of Management Research and Role of Management Education Institutions. Now, there's a purpose in titling my presentation this way. In my 2+ decades of academic and research experience, what I have observed is the kind of research contribution that has emerged from Indian management faculty members is minuscule and in the global context. And I try to probe what are the factors that have led to, that have caused this kind of minuscule contribution from the Indian academic fraternity. And I found out some reasons. And I also thought of giving some suggestions, which I have done in my presentation. So I have also tried to give some suggestions to the young researchers, faculty members, as well as research scholars, how to go about it. This is a broad presentation, not specific to any particular branch of specialization in management, though there are different functional areas. I have also a PPT. I would like to share it with you so that you'll be able to enjoy my presentation better. Now, as I have told you, the title of my presentation, which has been already announced, is Significance of Management Research and Role of Management Education Institutions. Now, at the outset, I would like to bring to your kind attention that business or economic research, I would like to use it interchangeably, plays an important role in business or economic growth and economic development. Now, this role can be understood at 3 different levels. 1 at the national level, 2 at a firm or enterprise or industry level, and 3 at an individual level. Now, at the national level, business or economic research, it plays a very important role by enabling or contributing to policy formulation, policy evaluation, policy refinement, and it may even lead to abandoning a particular policy, provided it proves to be ineffective. So at that level, that means at the national level, a policy introduction may be made, or a policy evaluation can be done, or a policy refinement can be done, or discontinuing of a policy also can happen. Now, in the Indian context, I would say, that at least I would like to make reference to 2 important wings of the government. The first one is Niti Aayog, National Institute of Transforming India. Niti Aayog, its predecessor was Planning Commission. Now, Niti Aayog is the policy think tank of the government of India. Now, Niti Aayog does a lot of research, which would result in formulation of policies. And they may also evaluate certain policies. Their research may lead to refinement of or redesigning and reintroduction of a policy. All these things are possible. And the other one, I would say, is the Reserve Bank of India, the central bank of the country. It has its own research wing, which actually enables the central bank to refine its monetary policy and refine or redesign its monetary policy from time to time. So this is one example which I can give, where research plays a significant role in terms of macroeconomic policies. And they in turn will have a significant impact on national economic growth. Now let me come to the enterprise or industry level. Now here, in fact, many corporate sector enterprises, for example, in the FMCG sector, fast-moving consumer goods sector, they have their own research wing. Now, this research wing would enable them to introduce a new product, or evaluating a product performance, setting targets for growth. All such things can happen at an enterprise level, which will have an impact on enterprise growth and industry growth at large. This research, it can have a significant influence on enterprise performance and industry growth. Now, the third point, this is the most important point for me. I would like to elaborate it, but slightly at a later stage. Now, but let me introduce this point. At the individual level also, business or economic research plays a very important role. It plays an important role in shaping up one's career and thereby contribute one's society or an economy, either as an academician or as an enterprise executive or as a government policy maker. See, research from the government is one thing, but research as an individual, it could be an individual faculty member or an individual industry executive or individual government bureaucrat. Now, all the three are doing research. In fact, many of them do research in the form of a research program for a PhD. Thereafter, they carry on their work subsequently as well. So that would contribute to their career growth. Therefore, business or economic research can have a decisive impact on individuals' career growth. I will elaborate this point particularly slightly at a later stage. But one thing that we should remember is quality and quantity of research. When I say research, business or economic research undertaken or performed in a country would depend upon that country's economic development achieved by a country, and in turn, it would contribute to the level of economic growth and development. In fact, there's a two-way relationship. But more research, business and economic research, more economic growth. More economic growth and development means a country will have more capability to carry out more business or economic research. So there's a two-way relationship. In fact, if you carry out a correlation analysis between R&D and per capita income, you would find a statistically significant positive correlation between the two. What it implies is both move together. A richer country will be able to devote more resources for research, and it will be able to generate more research output, which in turn will contribute to further economic prosperity of that country. This is the introduction that I would like to give. Now, let me proceed further. Now, contribution of Indian B schools to global research output. When I said research is important, now how to promote research is an important challenge. So in this context, I would like to state that among all B schools or management departments of institutions like IISc, IITs, and all, they have a very vital role to perform in the promotion of business research. But unfortunately, these B schools of emerging economies, they have a very long way to go in business research. That is because their share and contribution to global research output, global business research output is meager, to say the least. Now, I'm quoting a statement. This is a statement made by a professor of George Mason University to a young assistant professor, now who actually hails from Andhra. And he's an associate professor in Southampton Business School. Now, this professor made a statement, I believe, it is not verified, that about 90% of the global research output in peer-reviewed journals emerges from the US, 8% from Europe, including the UK, and the rest, that is 2% from the rest of the world. Now, the rest of the world would include Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, China, India, and others. Now, so the 2% share, which is actually attributed to the rest of the world, would mean that the contribution of Indian B schools would be well below even 0.5% or 0.2% of the total. That implies that the business research contribution from India is abysmally low. Now, as a result, what it would imply, as a result, not a significant share of Indian B school faculty might be receiving invitations to review articles from the editors-in-chief of referred international journals. This is my hunch. Now, one would wonder why at all we should bother whether we get an invitation to review articles from a peer-reviewed journal or not. See, this actually means it is some kind of a recognition for a faculty member who contributes continuously to academic research. It is and it is a first stage of recognition for a faculty. The next stage of recognition is getting invitation from the editor-in-chief to join the editorial board, then editorial advisory board. Then a journal might invite a researcher to assume the charge of editor-in-chief. That is how one would grow in terms of academic recognition in one's research career. So the very first stage of getting invitation to review articles itself might be very, very minimum in the Indian management faculty context, because the very contribution that is emanating from Indian management faculty is abysmally low. Now, more importantly, there is hardly any presence of Indian business faculty in the editorial advisory boards or in the editorial boards of any of the international reference journals. This is quite possible to verify. It is anybody can verify. Visit an international journal website, check, look at the editorial board, editorial advisory board. You will find hardly any Indians, very rarely, at the most. Of course, the very fact that somebody is a member of the editorial board or editorial advisory board does not mean that he or she has actually attained academic recognition or academic research recognition. Because I have come across some individuals becoming member of the editorial board of some of the prominent journals from India who have made no management research contribution. So some of them get into the editorial boards through their own networks, but they are exceptions. But in general, any management faculty, when he or she starts contributing to let us say peer-reviewed journals and continues with that, initially he or she will start getting invitations to review articles, and further recognition will fetch them membership of editorial board, editorial advisory board, and so on. Now let us focus more on why is it that management faculty from India has made a very minimum contribution. Now this is a reflection of inadequate quantity and quality of research contributions from India. Now, which are due to, I have listed out 7 points here. Now, they're all, according to me, do hold good in the larger Indian context. Exceptions could be there here and there. The first one is lack of adequate research environment, including library infrastructure in Indian B schools. When I say library infrastructure, in the current context, I mean access to online library, access to peer-reviewed journals, access to international reports or reports of international organizations. So the lack of adequate research environment in the Indian B schools is the first important factor which is responsible for the abysmally low contribution emerging from Indian management faculty. Second one is undue load of teaching and administrative assignments. I am telling this out of my own experience. I have been involved in, let us say, management department evaluations, management school evaluations, faculty audit, department audit. It is based on these experiences that I'm making these statements. In many of the business schools, particularly private B schools, there's an undue load of teaching plus administrative assignments. Given these two, there is hardly any time left for management faculty to think of research, leave alone doing research. So that is the second factor. Third factor is absence or limited weightage on research output in evaluation for a promotion. So this is true for in the context of most of the private B schools or departments of management in private institutions. It could be private engineering institutions or exclusive management or social science research institutes. So they do not lay adequate emphasis on research output while evaluating a faculty member for a possible promotion. Fourth one is inadequate encouragement to obtain research grants and carry out research projects. Because the weightage is almost nil, there is virtually no encouragement for the faculty to apply for research grants, compete and obtain research grants to carry out research projects. Next one is absence or limited significance attached to business research programs. So most of the private B schools, they do not have their management or PhD programs. This is another reason. I will elaborate on this a bit later, why this is important. The sixth one is absence or limited motivation to publish with or without research projects or research guidance. What I mean to say is it is possible for a management faculty to publish even if one doesn't have a research project and one doesn't have a research program to rely on. And last one, because of all the above reasons, most of the faculty members, they end up in writing poor quality articles. And these poor quality articles, they just do not cross the threshold level set by even a C category or even a lower category peer-reviewed journals. In the process, many of these faculty members end up with publications in unrefereed mediocre journals. So that is the status. Now let me continue. Now, so my hypothesis, based on what I have talked so far, if one randomly picks up a refereed business and or economics journal and an unrefereed business and or economics journal, the probability of finding an Indian B School faculty's article in the later is higher than in the former. So it is very possible to verify this hypothesis. You may take 10 refereed journals and 10 unrefereed journals, management journals, and if you look at that, there's a high probability that you will find an Indian faculty member's contribution in the later, but not in the former. Now what business schools can do? The issue is what should be done? How to promote management research contribution from Indian faculty? This is a very relevant point. Now, a fundamental requirement for carrying out business research is the prevalence of research environment in a B School. So this would emerge adequately provided the management here I mean the ownership of these B schools lays emphasis on research performance of faculty members in their evaluation. When I say research performance, it has three dimensions. One, research projects and obtaining grants to carry out research projects. Two, research guidance leading to the degree of PhD. That means having their own research program, okay, supported by or recognized by a university affiliated to a university to which the institution is affiliated. Third one is research publications in refereed journals and conferences. Now, please note, it is the research projects and research guidance, so which actually lead to the generation of the third, that is research publications. In other words, projects and guidance are the means to generate research publications of high quality. Now, let us look at some of the private B schools in countries like India, primarily focus on generating business graduates rather than on business research. Now, the fact is that why do they do it? Due to the much higher short-run benefit cost ratio of the former relative to the promotion of the later. What I mean is, every management school or B school or management departments, they find it advantageous to promote degree programs and generate revenue out of it. So in the process, faculty members are encouraged only to teach, but not to apply for research grants and carry out research projects. And also, the other one is absence of research programs or absence of PhD programs. So because if you have to carry out research projects and if you have to guide research students, it has certain gestation period. They do not produce results immediately. It's just one thing. Second thing, if a faculty member produces continuously articles in refereed journals, primarily it will bring credit to the faculty member and subsequently to the institute, but the benefits may not be measurable in concrete terms. So, whereas generating more and more business graduates will give them resources, financial resources. It may also bring them some kind of recognition in the short term. So that is what I meant. I meant that short-term benefit cost ratio is in favor of B schools generating business graduates rather than B schools focusing on business research. Now, as a result, faculty is loaded with teaching plus administrative assignments, and as a result, a considerable proportion of faculty time is devoted for teaching and administration. Business research is at the most supplementary, and therefore research performance has taken a backseat. In fact, I have come across management faculty members telling me, "Sir, no, we want to do research, but we just do not have time. For me, I have teaching hours of 20 to 30 hours per week, and plus I'm also involved in administration of various kinds. When I do all these, then virtually there is no time left for my research. So there is a possibility of me applying for a research project or me thinking of guiding a research student. Now, in this context, I would like to quote a research paper done by two Australian economists, now Fox and Milborn. You can also access this. This is freely downloadable paper. Now, they found out that a 10% increase in the number of teaching hours of academic economists in the Australian context would reduce their research output as much as 20%. Whereas a 10% increase in the number of research grants held per year would raise their research output by as much as 15%. So it brings up very clearly that if you increase teaching load, your research output, the research output of your faculty will come down almost at twice the rate. Similarly, if you encourage faculty members to obtain research grants, their research output will increase more than proportionately to the extent of 1.5 times. This is very significant research finding which young researchers should keep in mind. Let me go ahead. Now, role of business schools in research promotion. Let me go ahead further. Now, recently, many of the private business schools, they introduced their own PhD programs. And they also conduct, more importantly, many of these private business schools, they periodically conduct business conferences. So the latter is much more common than the former. That is, organizing conferences, it could be national conference, it could be international conference, is pretty common among the private business schools in India. If not all, some of them also have their own PhD programs. And how far these initiatives have impacted the extent of research undertaken by their faculty is a debatable issue. But to put bluntly, to answer this question bluntly, it would have hardly made any difference to the research output of the faculty. So now I can answer this question if you have any question at a later stage. Why it is so? It's of course one need not elaborate, but if at all elaboration is required, we can deal with this question later. Now, undertaking business research projects by faculty members in private business schools is an exception than a rule. I have not come across any private business school. Very few exceptions are there. Similarly, the presence of PhD programs to enable research guidance by the qualified faculty in these institutions is an exception than a rule. As a result, research publication contribution from these faculty members may not be considered. If at all significant number, these publications are mostly in average, obviously unrefereed journals. Of course, exceptions are there. What I mean is, even in private business schools, there are some faculty members who are doing good amount of research due to their own motivation, and they are producing research out. So I'm not generalizing it. There could be exceptions, but the large majority management faculty members are just not either generating research output in the form of research papers, or if at all they generate research output in the form of research papers, they end up publishing these articles in unrefereed mediocre journals. Now, given this, let us understand the extent of research undertaken in public funded B schools, because public funded B schools provide altogether a different environment for the management faculty. But even here, please note, even here, though the focus is on both business education and business research, it is the former that has an edge over the latter in terms of workload and importance within an institution. You may look at IIMs, you may look at departments of management of IITs. Even here, a good number of faculty members will tell you that teaching load is much more than the kind of what you can say time that they would have for undertaking research projects. Now, all these institutions, they have their own well-established research programs leading to the degree of PhD. Now, the faculty members do undertake research projects periodically, funded by national and international agencies. Now, given these two, there is scope for publishing research articles in refereed journals and presenting papers in conferences by their faculty members. But please remember, converting research project reports and PhD theses into research articles is a challenge. So not many faculty members would like to deal with these challenges consistently on a continuous basis. So if in fact there's an explicit emphasis, see, this is another important point. In most of the public funded B schools, there's an explicit emphasis on research performance. In many of these institutions, at the time of their evaluation for a promotion or at the time of recruitment for different levels of faculty positions. As a result, there's an indirect pressure on each faculty member or prospective faculty members to produce at least a threshold level of research performance in the form of research grants and projects, research guidance for PhD, and thereby leading to research publications in refereed journals and conferences, apart from contributing in the form of either books or chapters to edited books. But those who have inherent motivation to excel consistently involved in undertaking research projects, they guide research students, and they publish research papers to exhibit a higher level of research performance. But this group of faculty members accounts for a minuscule minority even in public funded B schools. Now, this sums up the current status of business research in India. Now, I would like to deal with this particular first point that I have mentioned. See, in institutions like IIS, a faculty member is always under pressure to produce research articles. I will tell you, even at the entrance level, if somebody has to be considered for an assistant professor's position, a faculty member has to be less than 35 years of age, point number one. And the candidate must have 3 years postdoc experience, point number two. And the candidate must have at least 3 research papers published in refereed journals. Only when the candidate satisfies these criteria, the candidate's application will be considered. It will be considered in the sense that candidate will be invited to the department to give a seminar, and subsequently the faculty of the department makes their own assessment, and subsequently those who do well will be called for interview. This is at the entry level. Now, suppose somebody enters as an assistant professor. At the end of the 6th year, this faculty member will be asked to submit a work report comprising the teaching work that has been done, research projects that have been undertaken, research guidance provided towards the obtainment of a PhD degree successfully, postgraduate program projects or ME or MTech or MBA projects guided by the faculty, research papers published in refereed journals, conference papers that one has, contributions made to edited books or volumes, invited articles that one might have published. So comprising all these, 30 copies of the work report have to be submitted to the institute. The institute will then send this report for evaluation to about 8 experts, 4 experts within the country and 4 experts abroad. It's only when 6 of the 8 experts will clearly recommend their candidate for a promotion, the candidate would get promoted, otherwise not. The same thing happens when somebody becomes an associate professor. After 6 years, the candidate will be asked to submit another work report, another kind of evaluation will take place. Though the work report should comprise everything, including administrative activity done by the faculty member, ultimately, the weightage is given to the number of research papers and the quality of research papers published by the faculty member. In other words, there is an implicit, if not explicit, emphasis on research output generated by the faculty member in the form of publications. So that makes a faculty member to continuously work hard in the form of applying for research grants and carrying out research projects, converting project reports into publications, to guiding students for PhD and encouraging the students to publish their theses in the form of research articles. So in fact, in some of the departments, I've been told that unless and until a student publishes at least 3 to 4 papers in reference journals, a candidate, that research candidate will not be allowed to submit the thesis. See that kind of a, it is some kind of an encouragement and I would say prompting the student to publish. And that is how the culture gets generated. So this is important, right? So recently, some of the public funded B schools have introduced incentive schemes for faculty members by offering monetary benefits to publish in repeated refereed journals by categorizing them into 3 to 4 levels, right? What these institutions have done is they have categorized management journals into 3 or 4 categories. And if a faculty member publishes, let us say, in the top category, he or she will get maybe to the extent of 5 lakhs or some amount. B category journals, 3 lakhs or something. C category journals, 1 lakh or something. D category journals will be 50,000 something. So, but I am not sure whether one should actually follow this model, because unless and until some individual has his or her own motivation to publish, this kind of incentive system may have only very limited impact. But its impact, nobody has verified, nobody has studied to a more systematic project work or systematic study. Now let me go on. So how to promote high quality business research is a major challenge confronted by all the B schools in India, whether it's private or public. Point number 1. So it has 2 dimensions. One is how to consistently motivate the faculty to publish. That's a challenge faced by B schools. Secondly, how to sustain a high level of motivation to publish. It's a challenge faced by the faculty across India too. Because on the one hand, the institution management will find it difficult, may find it challenging to motivate its faculty to publish. And at an individual level, for an individual faculty, we find it extremely hard to sustain a high level of motivation to publish, because publishing is not a 1 month game or a 1 year game or a couple of years game. Once you get into this field, if you have to make a mark, you have to continuously publish. That's a challenge. So this leads to the question, what needs to be done to promote business research and its quality? So the leading B schools across the globe, they have always promoted business education and business research simultaneously, because both feed each other for better quality. Therefore, neglecting any one of the two can be detrimental to the other. But this realization has not yet dawned on the business education promoters in general in India adequately. See, I will tell you from my own experience that my research work has encouraged me to do my teaching better. And my teaching has aided me in my research. So both actually go hand in hand. A good researcher is likely to improve himself or herself as a better teacher. A better teacher who undertakes research is likely to do a better research subsequently. So both go hand in hand. But if a B school has to enhance its reputation steadily to make a global mark, it is essential to recognize the imperativeness of business research promotion. If business research has to be promoted adequately, the teaching and administration load on business faculty has to be moderated by providing them adequate time for research in the form of 1, carrying out research projects, 2, guiding research students for PhD, and 3, publish research articles in refereed journals, conferences, and edited books. This implies that faculty members must be encouraged to take up research projects individually or collectively as a group, and backed up by a high-quality library infrastructure. In other words, faculty must have continuous access to high-quality library materials. Right? It is not enough if you have a small library for namesake with some books and some mediocre journals or trade reports. They must have access to peer-reviewed journals of various categories so that they'll be able to do a good amount of literature survey. That has its own role to play. If you want, I can elaborate on that later. Now, going further, so it is similarly, it is advisable for every B school to have its own business research program leading to the degree of PhD. This is because, I will tell you, At least I would say about 1/3 of my publications have emerged through my students' thesis. If an institution has a good research program, then guiding research students effectively, rigorously in a particular field will enable them to do high quality work, which can be which will result in a high quality thesis, and the thesis itself can be converted into minimum 4 to 5 research papers, apart from an equal number of conference papers. So that is an advantage if one is having one's own research program for PhD. Now, along with these initiatives, an explicit emphasis must be laid on research performance in the form of research projects, research guidance, and research publications for the annual or periodical evaluation of faculty members, particularly for their promotion. In fact, I was involved in evaluating some of the faculty members in some of the private universities in the last couple of years. So when it comes to evaluation, I was I felt very unhappy, because many of these faculty members, they have published in mediocre journals by making payments. So that actually is the sorry state of affairs. Actually, there are good number of peer-reviewed journals which do not charge even a penny. However, the entry barriers are very high. So the consistent adherence to and promotion of these initiatives may bring about a turnaround in the research performance of business faculty members, leading to a gradual but steady improvement of quantity as well as quality of business research in Indian discourse in the coming decades. Having said that, let me also present the negative side of it. That's why I have mentioned but a word of caution. With good quality research articles, it is possible to overcome the natural barriers and publish in Tier 2 and Tier 3 international journals. But it's difficult to overcome the artificial barriers to reach Tier 1 journals. I have made a very broad statement. I will tell you, I have been publishing for the last 2.5 decades as a management researcher or as an economics professor. I would like to share with you some of my experiences. See, majority of these international journals, peer-reviewed journals, they have editorial board comprising academicians from the first world, that is the developed world. Invariably, the editor-in-chief will be either from the US or from UK or from other parts of Europe. And 90 to 95%, in some cases 100%, the editorial advisory board, the editorial board, including the review members, would include only from the developed world. As a result, what happens is you find the threshold level very high for third world researchers like us. We find it extremely hard. In fact, many of these journals, irrespective of whether it is Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3, many of these journals, they reject the manuscripts submitted by the developing country researchers at the desk itself. What I mean is, every submitted article or manuscript by a researcher will be quickly gone through by the editor-in-chief or by the section editor. And they take a decision as quickly as possible to decide whether this particular manuscript should be sent for further reviewing or not. Suppose it crosses the desk, then the editor-in-chief or the section editor or the managing editor or the associate editor, they identify two academicians from across the globe and send this paper to those academicians for review. And that is, in most cases, that is a blind review. I believe that. But when it comes to the desk of the editor-in-chief, the editor-in-chief knows where this article has come from, who has written this article. So it is there that there is a scope for bias. So I have experienced bias from Tier 1, Tier 2, even Tier 3 kind of journals. Many of them have done that. So in most cases, they have the tendency to simply just reject articles which have emerged from the third world authors. This is a problem. So that is why I said I have classified as natural barriers and artificial barriers. Natural barriers, the quality of write-up may be very poor. You would have done inadequate literature survey. You wouldn't have developed a conceptual framework, or you wouldn't have defined your research objectives appropriately, or you might not have defined the scope of the study clearly, or there could be a weak methodology. In fact, many of the third world authors, they write management research papers without any quantitative analysis. At the most, they might do some kind of a what I say correlation analysis and ANOVA and end up there. Many of them are purely descriptive. Even descriptive articles can be strong in rigor. It depends upon the way you write your article. But what I found is majority of the management researchers from the third world, they lack quality. So quality for the various reasons that I have mentioned. When you don't have, when your manuscript doesn't have adequate quality, then for obvious reasons, it will be rejected. So this is what I mean by natural barriers. But then let us say that there are a significant number of those. They do good amount of good quality research, but still they will find it hard to cross the desk of these repeated management journals, because at the desk level itself, it will be rejected. Simply, they will give reasons. They will simply say, no, it is already done. One reason that they say. They say, no, your quality of write-up is not up to the mark. Or they may say, no, there is a novelty in your methodology. So there are enough reasons for one can easily pick up and throw it to the author, telling that, no, this is no good, and I will not send it for a blind review. So that is what I mean by artificial barriers. So artificial barriers are very difficult to overcome for developing country authors. Natural barriers are possible. But at the same time, let me also tell you, there are a good number of international journals which also do not practice artificial barriers. They invite high quality papers, irrespective of where it has come from, and such journals are there. Now let me go ahead. Now coming to the individual research. So I have talked about both the positive aspects and negative aspects. In fact, I quite often tell my research students that publication world is characterized by imperfect competition, where nobody knows the rules of the game. Particularly, I would say authors are at a disadvantage there when they do not understand the rules of the game adequately. Rules of the game adequately in the good sense as well as in the bad sense. So that's one thing. So given that it is quite possible that to publish one particular manuscript, you may have to have experience with about 8 to 10 to 15 journals. This has happened in my case. In fact, some of my good papers I could get published when I read that journal as the 8th journal or as the 10th journal. Now, why this has happened? In many cases, in most cases rather, the author knows the quality of the work by experience, and also you would have read other papers and all from the same journal. So if you are strongly convinced, yes, your work is complete in all respects, and it has the rigor, it has the quality. You don't have to bother or bog down by the kind of comments that you may receive from the editor-in-chief of some of these journals. In fact, please know, some of the editor-in-chief of reputed journals, they send very highly demotivating comments to the third world authors. But you should be strong enough to bear these comments and sometimes just ignore and move ahead, submit it to some other journal. I have done this and have experienced all these things. In fact, I would say that rejection is some kind of a humiliation for an author, particularly when the paper is fairly good. So I have undergone this kind of humiliation. This humiliation is not public humiliation. It is humiliation, internal humiliation, which hurts very, very much for an individual researcher. So keeping those things in mind, let me come back to the merits of research for an individual. Research allows one to pursue one's interests and to hone the problem-solving skills among others. This is the major advantage. So I have started with advantages of research at the national level, at an industrial or enterprise level, and at an individual level. Now I would like to focus more on an individual research, because I know that I'm talking to many young faculty members and young research scholars. So while I have mentioned both the merits and demerits, don't get demotivated by the comments that I have made so far. You do your work and try to improve. So climbing up the stairs or climbing up a tree or climbing up the value chain is always a very tough game. Only if you're strong and determined and if you have perseverance, you'll be able to climb up. Otherwise, you will not. Precisely for this reason, a good number of management faculty members, they may publish for some time and they stop publishing because publishing continuously on a continuous basis is a very tough challenge. Let us keep that aside. So, second advantage, in empirical research, a researcher gathers data and analyzes it using appropriate tools to find answers to the research objectives, whatever research objective that one may have. And research enhances one's knowledge, creative thinking, and confidence. I always give my example. I was highly an introvert when I was a student, and even after doing PhD. But it is because I continuously adhered to my research, produced research output, started getting publications, that actually, one, it expanded my knowledge horizon, it improved my creative thinking, and it developed my confidence. In fact, I was not able to address a large gathering when I was young, but today I don't mind going to even a big hall. I have given hundreds of talks since I joined IASC across the country as well as abroad. So that kind of confidence I could develop primarily because of my research work. Now, it leads to a deeper understanding of one's chosen discipline's current practices and research. You know what is happening in your field. See, I have specialized myself particularly in the field of small and medium enterprises and more recently startups, tech startups, their ecosystems, and SME innovations, entrepreneurship. So in this particular field, I'm able to improve my knowledge consistently. I'm able to understand what is happening in my field, in what direction, with what methodology, what kind of techniques or methodology means what kind of analytical techniques have been applied. All these understandings I'm able to have because of my research. Now, it teaches creative problem solving and communication skills, leading to building up of one's confidence. I have talked about it. It allows application of concepts learned in coursework to real-time situations. I will give another example. In fact, it is because of my research that I'm able to observe empirical business world and carry several cases to supplement the theories that I have taught in the class. In managerial economics, when I teach demand theory, production function, cost function, market structure, and all, invariably I pick up my observations made from the business world, either practical business world, say by going around Bangalore or by reading business page of the newspapers. I'm able to link up many of the cases with the theories that I teach in the class. Now, that capability I would have acquired had I not indulged in research on a continuous basis. Suppose I had done just ME economics and started teaching. I would have only relied on the textbook and maybe textbook cases. That liveliness wouldn't have come had I not done research continuously. This is what I'm trying to say. And it gives an opportunity to present findings at local, regional, and national or international conferences. Only when you do research and convert that research into a research manuscript, that you'll be able to present maybe in a local conference, maybe in a regional conference, maybe in a national conference, or maybe international conference. And it makes one a competitive applicant to graduate and professional schools. I have told you already that suppose you have to join as a faculty member in tier 1 institutions like IIMs, IITs, or IASC, or IIITs, you need to have a good number of publications if you have to apply for a faculty position there. So with good research and good research output, you'll be able to reach that. It helps to obtain fellowships abroad. In fact, various kinds of fellowships are available. I am fortunate enough to get Commonwealth Fellowship, Japan Foundation Fellowship, and Fulbright Fellowship. But when I got all these fellowships, of course, my list of publications would have helped to a great extent in enabling me to win over these fellowships. So when you submit your application for a fellowship, invariably you are supposed to submit your CV, and some of them ask exclusively the list of publications that you have to your credit. So that also it helps. It facilitates to explore potential career paths. In fact, some of the researchers now who have very good number of publications, even with Indian PhDs, they have migrated to Europe, including UK, and they are doing well. I know some of them particularly, just with Indian PhDs, maybe IIT PhD, NIT PhD, some of them even university PhD, with those PhDs, but they have a very strong publication record. They have migrated abroad. They have grown. They are growing. So it can be a very effective instrument or weapon to enhance one's career prospects in the long run. So how to carry out research? Why? Let me elaborate on that. The research can be carried out either for a formal degree of PhD or MPhil or MSc by research. MSc by research is a preliminary degree equivalent to that of MPhil, prevailing in IITs and IIS. Or one may do it for a sponsored research project. One may carry out research. Or one may do for simply a research paper. That is not for a formal degree, not for a project, but just with the intention of doing a research paper and publishing it. All the three are possible. But doing research and doing sponsored research projects, they are not one and the same. You should keep that in mind. It is possible to do research without a sponsored research project. I'm going to elaborate it a bit more later. But it is not possible to do a sponsored research project without doing research. What is common to both is there should be a research question to begin with. So identifying or formulating a research question is important for proper direction for research exploration. Now, so that means we need a research proposal. So what are the contents of a research proposal? Contents of research proposal: one, an introduction. In the introduction, you must state why is it the research problem undertaken by you for investigation, or the research problem proposed by you for investigation. Why is it important? How does it assume significance in the current context? So that is what an introduction must say. Secondly, you must define concepts. Concepts, when I say concepts, I will give an example. Suppose somebody wants to explore how do technological innovations enable small and medium enterprises to grow over a period of time. I'm giving an example because I've done this project. Now, when you submit a proposal of this kind, you must define, one, what is a small and medium enterprise? Because SMEs are defined in different contexts, in different countries, at different periods of time. So you must define what do you mean by small and medium enterprises, and what do you mean by technological innovation, and what do you mean by firm growth. So these three concepts are very important for this proposal, and they may mean anything. That's why you must at the explicit define this concept. Third one, review of literature. Review of literature plays a very significant role in one's research. It has innumerable amount of benefits. I always lay a strong emphasis on doing a high quality literature review. If you do a mediocre literature review, that will be reflected in the quality of your research. Your research will be mediocre. If you do a high quality, intensive, rigorous literature review, your research output will be of high quality. It will be of rigorous. It will be appreciated. Now, what do you mean by literature survey? See, literature survey means surveying or reading and understanding and digesting important research work that has emerged in the proposed area of work. Now, when I say review of literature, you must give most importance to articles published in refereed journals. That is the most important one. You may supplement it with reports of international organizations like the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, OECD, European Union, British High Commission, any of these international organizations you may supplement. You may even go for some of the reports that are available in the country context. Now, advantages of literature review are many. One, it enables you to understand concepts, to understand how important concepts are defined in what context. That is the most important thing. Second, so the first important thing. Secondly, literature review enables you to understand the theoretical basis or theoretical issues that have been discussed or that have not been discussed. Thirdly, literature review enables one to understand what are the empirical issues that have been probed in what context. Fourthly, it enables you to understand what kind of analytical techniques that have been applied, in what context, and what are its merits, what are its demerits. Next, fifthly, it enables you to understand how did other authors derive inferences from the findings that they have obtained for their study. So that is inferences. Next, how did they derive policy implications from their work? Next, what kind of research gaps still exist? In other words, your comprehensive literature review will enable you to identify the kind of works that have not been done but could have been done. So the works that have not been done but could have been done would constitute what is called research gap. In fact, research gap need not be one. Research gap can be multiple, but a number of research gaps may be there. It is to fill up some of those research gaps identified by the author through an intensive literature survey that he or she proposes to carry out his or her research work. So literature review, comprehensive literature review, ultimately should end with identifying research gaps and justifying the need for your work. Then comes objectives, scope, and methodology. Ideally, a research project or research thesis must have at least 3 to 4 research objectives. So once research objectives are defined, then one must determine the scope of the study. So this is also important. I have evaluated PhD thesis of about nearly 20 institutes. I would have evaluated about 60 PhD dissertations in the last 2 decades or so. And I have come across some theses where they have not defined their scope of the study at all. It's a major flaw, I would say. So once you define the research objectives, you must also define scope of your study. What do you mean by scope of your study? I always give this example. Suppose somebody says, there is a cricket match between India and England. Now, if you state this, then the questions naturally come, where this match will be held? When will this be held? What kind of research match is being held? So one may have to tell them, yes, the cricket match will be held in Bangalore, in Chinnaswamy Stadium, on, let us say, 30th July, and it is a 60 overs match. That is from morning to evening. So that is how one should determine the scope of the study, the boundaries of the study. This is important because it helps the researcher in the subsequent stages as well. Suppose, I will give one example. Suppose you undertake a study with respect to, let's say, technological innovations of small and medium enterprises in the state of Andhra Pradesh, let us say, in the state of Andhra Pradesh, and you take up the recent period, let's say 2016 to 2020, right? And you define SMEs, define the sector, everything. Tomorrow, if somebody poses a question, which is something related to some other country and relating to some other sector, you can always tell that the observation made by you is beyond the scope of my study. So if you clearly define the scope of the study, it provides you some kind of a guard to protect yourself, to protect yourself and answer questions very appropriately subsequently. The next objective scope and then methodology. What is methodology? Methodology actually refers to the way you explore or answer or analyze each of the research objectives stated in your study. That is what we methodology. So methodology can be, let us say, descriptive. Methodology can be analytical, quantitative. In most cases, in social science research, The research rigor improves when you apply quantitative techniques. It could be multiple regression, it could be logistic regression, it could be Cox regression, it could be even, say, stepwise regression, right? It could be hierarchical regression. So there are different kinds of statistical techniques once you obtain the data. So how do you analyze the data to answer the research objectives that you have mentioned, explains the methodology of your study. In most cases, a researcher should be able to define the methodology explicitly at the outset itself. But there are possibilities that you may propose a methodology, but you may have to revise that methodology subsequently as and when you make progress. So, but as far as possible, it's appropriate or it would be advantageous to define your objective, scope, and methodology. Fifth one is limitations of scope for future work. I have marked it red because it is not a must, but it would be good as far as possible if you can state the limitations of your work and scope for future work. In many cases, you may not be able to do it at the beginning, you may have to do it at the end. Then timeline of activities. So I always tell my students that a well-defined research proposal means 50% of your research work is done. It is some kind of a blueprint for a civil engineer who constructs a building. Unless and until, if you have a well-defined research proposal, you'll be able to set the time limit for each stage and carry out the tasks accordingly. It would help you greatly in implementing your research work subsequently. Now, research proposal, business or social science researchers recommend the formulation of research proposal. Research proposal is a blueprint for conducting and controlling research. It gives a clear direction to a researcher for future. And it's important for smooth progress of research work towards thesis submission for a degree. If it is for a degree, if it's for a project, it's a different. The research proposal is not essential if one is carrying out research to find an answer for a research question which bothers him or her. Now, I have mentioned here a topic. Why do technology business incubators exist? What functions do they perform? How to assess their business performance and justify their role? Now, these questions are good enough for a research degree leading to a PhD, or they are good enough for a research project, and they are good enough even for a research paper. Now, for the research degree, yes, it will be carried out under the guidance or supervision of a professor. So no worries. Research question for a project, yes, if you obtain the grant over a period of, let us say, 1.5 to 2 years or 3 years, you'll be able to implement the project. Research question, yes, for a research paper, that is also possible. But if somebody has to do just a research paper for some research questions, what is required is the researcher should have adequate knowledge of the literature. It's important. He must be clear about the sources of data where he can obtain and analytical techniques to be used. Now, all these things would come only with experience and amount of knowledge that you would have gathered over a period of time. Now, so for a research paper, you may not have to develop a research proposal, not necessary. If you have adequate amount of knowledge about the kind of literature, about the sources of data, about the analytical techniques, everything, you may do it without a research proposal. Okay, or else even here, research proposal would be useful. But for a research papers alone, I have not come across anybody forming a research proposal. So research proposal is meaningful either for a PhD degree or for a research project. Now, research training, to do research, either for a degree or for a project, some kind of research training is recommended. One is formal training, second one is formal qualifications. So month-long training program or week-long workshops on research methodology conducted for social science or management teachers by universities or institutions across the country. So this FDP is one example for that. Those who have attended this will get some kind of input for undertaking research. One may also read books on research methodology. One may also acquire knowledge through book reading. And pre-PhD, or one may go for pre-PhD courses for MPhil or MSc by research or a PhD are common. Yes, sir. The last one is an example for formal qualifications. Now, research project proposal. So I have talked about research project proposal. It is different from a research proposal. It should contain the form: introduction, brief literature review, because substantial literature review we will do only at a later stage. And you have to state again objectives, scope and methodology. You also have to state expected outcomes, because you're submitting this to an agency which is going to provide you research grants. Therefore, they would expect you to clearly mention what are the expected outcomes of your research. And you also are supposed to state the major limitations of the study. And then you have to mention time schedule of activities and provide budget estimates. So that is the difference between a research proposal for a PhD and research proposal for a research project. Now, I have given the example here for the research proposal format for National Science and Technology Management Information System Division of Department of Science and Technology. Department of Science and Technology, NSTMIS of DST, it invites research proposals from faculty members from across the country throughout the year. There is no, what you can say, deadline also. You can submit the research proposal anytime to NSTMIS DST online. So the project proposal, it should contain, contain these details. One, name and address of the institute where the project will be implemented. First one is project title, then name and address of the institute where the project will be implemented, then name of the principal investigator, designation of the principal investigator, institute name, address, and co-principal investigator, because NSTMIS always insists on having a co-principal investigator for a project. It is not necessary for, let us say, for a project proposal which you may submit it to UGC or ICSSR, but DST insists on having a co-principal investigator. So his designation, institute name, address, duration, that number of months, then those are very easy to do that. But then they would expect you to write an introduction, including brief literature survey, where you need to mention the significance of the study and important contributions that have been made already in the form of maybe research articles or in the form of research reports or project reports or whatever, international organization reports, and the kind of important knowledge that is prevailing in that particular field of in that particular field, and then identify some research gaps. Then you have to mention objectives and scope of the study, and then mention the methodology, including time schedule of activities. It is here that you have to mention how you are going to analyze each of the research objectives proposed by you. Then expected outcomes, then limitations. Then DST also asks for you to mention some of the experts in the related field, because in some contexts, what they do, they send this research proposal to some of those experts to seek their views, about whether this kind of a project proposal can be funded or not. And the project, both principal investigator and co-principal investigator, they are also supposed to mention what are the other research projects that they are doing currently. And they have to provide budget estimates. Now, there are research project sponsoring organizations are plenty. One is, as I told you, National Science and Technology Management Information System, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. Second one is Department of Scientific and Industrial Research, Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India. Third one is University Grants Commission, Government of India. Fourth one is Indian Council for Social Science Research, Government of India. Fifth one is Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, Government of India. Next one is Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, Government of India. Small Industries Development Bank of India. Ministry of Labor and Employment, Government of India. Public sector banks. Reserve Bank of India, in fact, encourages small piece of research. And state councils of science and technology of various states. So these are all virtually public bodies which encourage research. I'm talking about only national organizations. Now, next is important thing is doing research without research projects. So I dealt with research proposal for a PhD degree, research project proposal, that is for obtaining grants to carry out a research project. Now, both are there, but suppose somebody is more experienced, one has already obtained PhD and carried out a couple of research projects. Then, if you want to do, let's say, research paper, it is possible to do research without research projects. So, a researcher can do research without a research project and with the help of secondary data available free. Secondary data of various kinds are available free of cost within as well as outside India. Particularly with the ICT revolution, The amount of data that has become available is voluminous, mind-boggling. The only thing is that we should know how to use the data. So many of these data sources are available from their websites. Some amount of expertise and experience is required to carry out research without a research project. A good knowledge of database is required. One should be able to gel well his or her literature understanding with the secondary data for analysis. So these are the secondary sources of data available in the Indian context. Annual Survey of Industries, which is from the Central Statistical Office, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. And you have Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, data on FDI and investment approvals they provide. National Innovation Survey data from the Department of Science and Technology. Economic Survey, all India and states, they are available free of cost. Handbook of Statistics on Indian Economy from the Reserve Bank of India. R&D statistics, industry-wise and sector-wise, Department of Science and Technology provides. RBI report on currency and finance annual report. CMI Provis database, this is a private source which is highly expensive. Private equity deal database venture. The last two are private sources. They are not free of cost, of course, whereas the other one are, the remaining ones are available free of cost. Now, Handbook of Statistics on Indian Economy. I'm making reference to this because I would say about 1/3 of my publications have emerged thanks to data available, secondary data that are available free of cost. So over the period of time, I have gained some kind of an expertise to make use of secondary data, to write papers, to explore research questions that have emerged in my mind. So if you look at the Handbook of Statistics on Indian Economy, the latest one, you'll find that part 1, it provides annual series data. Part 2 provides quarterly or monthly series data. Part 3 provides data series with less than monthly frequency. Part 4, major growth rates and ratios on various economic variables. Under Part 1, annual series table 36 contains data on performance of SSL sector in India. Just I am giving an example. Now, here is 2 questions here. So which one may do with the help of secondary data. How did industrial R&D grow in India since 1991, relative to pre-1991? How did it influence industrial growth and performance? So this question is important. Why it's important? Let us say that it is possible to explore. It is possible to explore through this research how far industrial R&D is beneficial to industrial growth and industrial productivity improvement. Suppose there's a strong influence of R&D on growth and productivity, then there is every reason to encourage more and more industrial enterprises to engage in R&D for their own growth, for their own prosperity. Now, this kind of research can be done with the help of R&D statistics that are available from the Department of Science and Technology and Annual Survey of Industries that are available from the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Now, the next issue, how did delicensed industries grow and perform in India in the post-1991 era related to prior 1991 era, pre-1991 era? So one may do it based on simply Annual Survey of Industries. Here the point that one can explore, the question that one can explore is how far delicensing has enabled industrial growth of the country. Or one may even put the question in a different way. To what extent delicensed industries would have prevented the growth of industry previously by doing a comparative study? Now, there are international sources of secondary data as well. United Nations Industrial Development Organization provides a lot of sources from their website. UNCTAD, that is United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, World Trade Organization, International Finance Corporation, the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, UNDP, that is United Nations Development Program, a good number of institutions, international institutions, even OECD, European Union, plenty of these international organizations do plenty of studies, that is literature as well as data for secondary data research. So the Internet revolution, in fact, has brought a wide variety of secondary data sources virtually to our doorstep, in fact, to our study room. So best course of action for a beginner. I think this is the last slide that I have for my discussion here. The following steps are suggested. Necessary to mold oneself as a researcher through formal training to acquire a formal qualification, MPhil or MSc by research or PhD. This would always be helpful. Please remember, MPhil or PhD or MSc by research, it only trains you. That itself is not the end. So one should keep that in mind. Then do small pieces of research by making use of secondary data, by formulating small research questions based on one's interest. This is possible. Each one of us, as an academician, will have some research questions, emerging in our mind. So we may try to test or answer those research questions with the help of secondary data. It can emerge in the form of a small research article, or may develop it further into a good research paper. So familiarize with literature, theoretical issues, methodological issues, analytical techniques. All these are very important. Please keep that in mind. That is how, because all these contribute to what I would call high quality research. And develop research proposal and apply for sponsorship to a funding agency. That is the best way that one can go ahead. So I would say that with this, I'm sure you would have gained a good amount of inputs for carrying out research. So thank you for listening. I'll be happy to answer your questions if you have any. We can discuss for some time.
Thank you, sir. It's a very informative session by you. Sir, may I audible, sir?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, participants have quoted a few questions here, sir.
Yeah, where can I get those questions? Can you help me?
No, sir, I can read out it because you're unable to see that.
Yeah.
A question from Bhavan Kumar. Can you suggest best online journal submission portal?
Sorry.
Can you suggest best online journal submission portal from one of the participants?
See, there are many online journals. Some of them charge. In fact, some of them charge. I would advise youngsters not to go for publishing in online journals which neither have reputation nor have credibility. I will tell you, there are many journals where they accept articles free of cost, and if the articles have quality, they publish it. So even some of the reputed journals, see, when I submit papers, they ask for the option of whether whether I would like to publish this article online in case the paper is accepted. And if I say yes, then I should be willing to pay a certain amount. It could be $50 or something like that. So when I submit my article, I always go for offline publication only, and I do not go for online publication. But there are several online journals which periodically contact me, requesting me to contribute a paper, sometimes requesting me to join the editorial board, but I just don't reply because I'm not interested in that. But if somebody has, of course, if somebody has financial strength, then one may submit it to, see, Springer has several journals which publish articles online, but they charge. So that is one source of generating revenue for these journals, for these publishers. And of course, the advantage in going for online publishing is your article will be read widely. Hundreds of thousands of downloading may be done. So the article may read a wider audience fairly easily and quickly. But ideally, I don't believe in paying and publishing my article online. And I will not advise any of my youngsters, younger colleagues or younger researchers to pay and publish online.
Thank you, sir. One more question. How can we do research on new concepts in the absence of review of literature?
How can we?
How can we do research on new concepts in the absence of review of literature?
Okay. See, there is nothing called new concepts. Then unless until you create a new concept. If you create a new concept, then you have to justify why a new concept is needed and in what context you have formed it. There could be areas where research is less done. I will give an example. I did a research on entrepreneurial ecosystem for tech startups in Bangalore and Hyderabad 5 years back. The amount of research available, research literature available in the context of ecosystems, entrepreneurial ecosystems were very limited. That is precisely why I adopted Delphi technique. Now what I did, I identified stakeholders of the ecosystem, interacted with them, and made them to define what is called an entrepreneurial ecosystem. What is its structure? What is its role? So there are different methods through which one can try to expand the horizons of knowledge into new areas. But I am not really convinced that one has to come with new concepts. That may not be necessary. Concepts are there. Only you have to define in a newer area or expand the boundaries of knowledge with the help of existing knowledge. And you always get literature, if not in the same field, in the related field, which would help you to propose what is called a conceptual framework. What is a conceptual framework? A conceptual framework, actually, you link the key variables and explain the relationship. That is different from a theoretical framework. In the context of a theoretical framework, already defined theories would enable you to explain the relationship between the key variables identified by you for your study. But when there is no theory, previous theory that has been formed, but whereas you propose, and because you're entering a slightly a new area, you can propose what is called a conceptual framework. You can hypothesize the relationship between the various variables which you have identified as important for your study.
Thank you, sir. I have one more question. What is the best sample method for academic research?
See, this is a very difficult question to answer. See, I have come across, of course, some people say larger the sample size, better the study is, because it will have some ability, but statisticians would simply brush it aside. But at the same time, what is important is a representative sampling. For a representative sampling, you need to have full understanding about the population. So if you have the full understanding of the population through a certain method, I'm not able to deal with that right now, is you can derive what is the minimum sample size that you need to have for your study. But let us say in my case, I have done most of my research in the context of small and medium enterprises. Now, small and medium enterprises population is not completely known. People have estimates. And government has, of course, conduct census, but conduct census only for the organized small scale industries or small and medium enterprises. But there's a huge unorganized sector about which nobody knows how many are there, in what number, though government quotes certain number, but systematic database of small and medium enterprises is hardly exists. So we always go for a certain number like 100, 100 and plus 200 kind of a thing. So for a thesis, I would say yes, crossing 100 plus will be a decent number to do any amount of statistical analysis and derive meaningful inferences.
Okay, sir. Thank you. I have one more participant asking that where from sustainable development goals data as well as CSR related data will be collected?
See, sustainable development goal, I'm not an expert, so I do not want to deal with that question. Whereas corporate CSR data will be available from the company websites or company annual reports, or CMI might give. I'm not really sure. I've not used CMI database only once or twice. I would have used, one of my students has used for her thesis work. Otherwise, I'm not sure whether CMI gives data on CSR. But if you, let's say that you are able to identify, let's say 50 companies, company annual reports should be able to give data on CSR. They are bound to publish. They are duty bound, means they are mandated to publish.
Okay, so thank you for answering the questions. I want to read out the positive compliments here quoted by the participants in a chat box on YouTube. quite useful, very valuable information, nice session, excellent, informative session, a very practical, true worthy. Share the PPT. Some of few participants are requested us to share a PPT, sir.
I can send the PPT if you want. Yes, I'll be very
Okay.
happy to share the PPT because if it can help the youngsters, I'll be really happy.
Thank you, sir. And a few of the quotes like, knowledgeable session, qualitative and effective session, important to all, and enlightening speech by the speaker. So this is all about the participants' quotes on the
Thank you.
chat box. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This is a time for oath of thanks by the Sanjeev.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, all participants. I feel privileged to speak on this occasion and to propose vote of thanks for the first day of a 7-day FDP on recent trends in management. First, I would like to express my sincere thanks to today's resource person, Dr.M.H.Bala Subrahmanya, Professor, Department of Management Studies, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. I would like to thank our correspondent, Madam V.K. Padmavathamma, Managing Director, Sir Sri G. Raghunath Reddy, Director, Madam Srimati V.K. Srivani, and Principal, Sir Dr. P. Bhaskar, for their support, encouragement, and advice. I thank all the participants throughout the country and across the globe for registering to this FDP. I hope this FDP will provide good insights in the recent trends in management. I thank all the speakers for accepting our invitation to be resource persons for upcoming sessions of this FDP. I thank the HOD and all my colleagues for their support and cooperation. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So connect with.
Thank you, Sanjeev.
Thank you.
Sir,
Connect
thank
with
you,
now?
sir. Thank you for being with us, and it's really an excellent contemporary issue
Yeah.
spoken by you, and it's the biggest achievement in Gates Institute of Technology. First time we invited a prestigious IASC professor
Yeah.
to our institution. Thank you, sir. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
And
you.
I request to the convener to speak in lines.
So shall I stop?
Sir, very good afternoon, sir. Sir, this is Ismail, sir. Very good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, thank you, sir, for being here.
Welcome. Welcome. I
And
enjoy talking to you.
we received a good kind of response from throughout the globe
Sure.
and country.
Yeah.
And the comments are very positive.
Good.
Every person is saying that it is very fruitful and
Good.
informative session and knowledgeable session.
Good.
And thank you for sharing your kind knowledge
Sure.
and for being with us, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome. Welcome. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Only with the mouse.